Originally, we thought that this man, Dennis Carradine, was your husband's killer. We were wrong.
What?
Turns out Mr. Carradine was only an accomplice. The actual killer is still at large.
What are you talking about?
This is the man who killed your husband.
This is starting to sound like a bad comic book plot. It gets worse.
Well, and you thought it was safe. Well, that's a mistake. Hold on and be brave, because it's not safe. Well, I know that you thought it was, and maybe that was because you made a mistake. And you thought it was safe. Yeah, you thought it was safe.
Some bad movies just get funnier every time you see them. And some... they just get worse. And then there's Spider-Man 3. Let's face it, the other two weren't that great. We just thought they were, because so many superhero movies before them out and out sucked. But you know what really gets me with this one? Even its staunchest defenders can't mount more than a half-hearted excuse or two for why they give it the time of day. Most of those excuses boil down to, hey, it obviously cost money, then it made more money in less time than its prequels, so it can't be all that bad, can it? Yes, it can. And as soon as the credits rolled, I knew why. Almost every key player returned for this third go-round, something almost unheard of in a pre-Spider-Man 3 world. In a post-Spider-Man 3 world, we can all see this doomed the movie from the very start. We had years of warning, since director Sam Raimi and producer Avi Arad did a piss-poor job of keeping their creative disagreements on the down low. We foolishly thought that they would eventually put all those differences aside and focus on making Spider-Man 3 the best Spider-Man 3 it could be. Well, we were wrong. I'm sorry, but that's what happens when you have hope for the future. Now, I obviously wasn't on set and wasn't privy to the minds involved, but I like the idea, put forward by several of my fellow internet critics, that Sam Raimi and his brother Ivan intentionally sabotaged this movie in order to escape making Spider-Mans 4 through 6. If you take everyone at their word, that they honestly believed this was the best Spider-Man 3 they could possibly make, you wind up calling bullshit on every other thing in the movie.
Hey, stick around. It's gonna start again in a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's okay.
Like this opening, right here, right out of the gate, we see Peter Parker happy. Peter Parker, the kid with the guilt complex so large it'd make Bruce Wayne go, "Damn, son, be a little easier on yourself. You're only one man, even if you are a Spider-Man." This was basically the plot of Spider-Man 2, which is probably why that movie's so well regarded. Hell, I even found good things to say about it. And I fucking hate that cliche where the hero quits halfway through his second movie just so we can start off the third act with a big cathartic moment. Here we get our catharsis in the movie's first scene, which is so ass-backwards, seismographs all over Greece recorded a massive subterranean disturbance as 3 millennia of dead critics began spinning in their graves. If you want to start a story with Peter Parker happy, fine. But something damn well better happen real fast to make him unhappy. That's called drama.
Tell it to my father. Raise him from the dead.
Why is he so happy if your best friend thinks you killed his father? And where are all those dire financial straits everybody was going on about in the first movie?
This place in your budget?
I know Mary Jane's in Manhattan Melodies, but how's that going to pay the rent? And where is she living anyway? I swear, I really want to know. It's not just because I love staring at Kirsten Dunst from the sidewalk outside her window. I want to know what's happened between films. How much time's passed? It can't be all that much, since Harry's still hanging around, challenging Peter to random dick-waving contests.
Bullshit!
But we see him take the goblin gas, which you'd think would have been the first thing on his to-do list as soon as he finished going over dear old Dad's evil lab.
What's with you guys, anyway?
It's complicated.
You mean you didn't tell her?
Bullshit.
Bullshit!
Why the fuck not?
It's complicated.
Oh, by the way, honey, my best friend? Yeah, his dad was a supervillain. And, you know, he's probably gonna become one too. So, you know, here's a cell phone and here's my beeper number just in case. And we should probably work out some kind of panic button system thing. Maybe kind of a signal watch? Despite his blatant dishonesty, Peter wants to pop the question. And since movie Spider-Man's incapable of tying his shoes without a stirring speech from someone, he visits Aunt May. I joke, but this is Rosemary Harris's only good scene in the movie, so it's too bad it goes on for so damn long.
A man has to be understanding and put his wife before himself. Can you do that, Peter?
Yeah, I think I can.
You lie!
And then there's this Sandman.
Promise. I'll make you healthy again.
Yeah, you're gonna break that promise by the end of this movie, Flint. 'Cause you suck! Hey, we're ripping off the Blob, everyone. Not like we introduced an astronaut in the last movie who could have easily supplied a way for the symbiote to get to Earth. No. Whatever. The most useless character in the franchise award goes to
Captain John James.
Take a bow, my friend. You've earned it. Oh, right. This fight. I actually kind of liked this fight until that. But still, this is my second favorite fight in the franchise. Right after that train ride, Spider-Man 2. Even here we have a problem, though. Spider-Man's one tough hombre, but part of his appeal comes from the fact that he's basically a normal guy with some super strength and a really good sense of balance who can stick to walls and occasionally sense danger coming. His ribs still break, his joints still dislocate, and he's constantly passing out from concussions, blood loss, retroviral anti-mutagens that knock out his superpowers. You name it, Spider-Man's probably suffered from it at some point in his superhero career. He's not Superman, except in this universe, which Marvel Comics officially designates Earth 96,283, where Spider-Man's powers are pretty damn inconsistent. This is a brick wall. And that's a dude in a cheap suit and tie going through the brick wall. Has at least 6 broken ribs, 2 dislocated shoulders, 1 shattered pelvis. And this is supposed to be our big bad, the antagonist we've spent 2 movies setting up. And on the whole, this is the best fight in the movie, because it's a fight between 2 characters we've grown to know and at least tolerate. No matter the angle, this looks like a fight that can only end in someone's death. So, of course, it ends in the silliest and most downright insulting way imaginable.
Ooh, faced!
Okay, raise your hand if you think Harry should have died here. Wouldn't it have helped the whole black costume arc a whole hell of a lot more than some soap opera revelation about Uncle Ben's true killer? An accidental homicide would only add fuel to Spider-Man's guilt complex, leaving him open to all kinds of manipulation from alien symbiotes slowly invading his mind.
How is he?
He's gotta be okay. But there's been some memory impairment, particularly short-term memory.
That's some bullshit.
And you'd better be glad you got away with movie amnesia, Parker. If he'd been going any faster, you'd be fishing his head out of some poor tax accountant's office across the street. And assuming it didn't just drop straight into traffic. This movie obviously had to wrap up Harry's arc from part 2, but it's just as obvious nobody really cared about doing that. Sam Raimi wanted to bring Sandman to the big screen because doing so would have given him an excuse to do stuff like this. Producer Avi Arad wanted him to do Venom, because that's the first question every Spider-Man fan asked Avi Arad, going all the way back to the first film. When are you going to do the black costume arc? So yes, all of this is partially our fault. We couldn't help it. Venom's the best antagonist in Spidey's Rogues Gallery.
After all, we know who you are, and everyone you care about.
Any old villain can attack Spider-Man with vibro swords or flying surfboards. Venom attacks Spider-Man by doing things like this.
I ran into someone who says he's a friend of yours.
Don't you just love the theater? No, you do. You're a wonderful actress.
Oh, thank you.
Or this.
Hey, buddy. Real quaint. Homey.
Who is it, dear?
Eddie Brock, ma'am. An old dear friend of Peter's. And you must be Aunt May. Heard so much about you.
Or this.
If I ever get my hands on that wall crawler,
You want the wall crawler?
No!
Then here's a scoop. Peter Parker is Spider-Man!
Instead, we focus on Sandman and the #1 killer of superhero sequels, a phenomenon I like to call villain squeezing. It's all Batman Returns' fault. Every bit of its ad campaign announced you needed 2 villains to equal 1 Jack Nicholson. We still suffer from the results of this decision today, to the point where some heroes even can't escape their first movies without facing a minimum 2 villains. I'm looking at you, Daredevil. And your 2 thumbs up from Ebert and Roper. Here we get 3 villains, plus Spidey himself, underlining the fact Spider-Man's sometimes his own worst enemy. Which is the whole point of the alien costume story arc, right?
Just wish I could remember more about him.
We loved you. That's the main thing.
Yeah, Peter doesn't really need an alien voice in his head to make him do evil things. He certainly steps into a real moral shit pile by going along with Harry's movie amnesia. I get not wanting to spill the beans all at once. But telling Harry the truth's not even discussed.
it's bull. Come on, man. What are you doing?
You'd think this would be the first conversation he and MJ had as soon as they left the hospital. Oh wait, I forgot. MJ doesn't know a goddamn thing about you and Harry, because you haven't told her, have you? I'm sorry, but what's Peter again?
He's a hero.
Yeah, you're wrong there, Carly. For these last 2 films, Spider-Man's been nothing but a douche. And so he shall remain, except when the script needs him to be nice.
You just gotta believe in yourself, and you pull yourself together, you get right back on the horse, and...
Don't give me the horse thing.
And I know I'm supposed to irrationally hate MJ because she's there, or because she's Kirsten Dunst, or whatever reason you jerk-offs have this week, but really, I hate her because she's horribly written, and because she seriously does not seem to have any friends. She got 1 friend in the extended edition of Spider-Man 2, but in this movie? Fuck all! Nada. Zip. Except Peter, whom we've already established can go from 0 to douche in 2.3 seconds. Faster than he can change costumes off screen. Did she talk to any of the other actors we saw milling around backstage? Hasn't one of them told her you don't read your own reviews during the show's run? I mean, hell, even I know that's a bad idea, and all I did was watch this Spalding Gray monologue.
You saw the reviews, right? No, we didn't read the reviews. Actors never read their reviews. Kidding, you didn't read the reviews? No, why empower those assholes? If you're going to read the reviews, read them after the run, not during it.
Exactly. But this movie would have us believe MJ made it all the way to Broadway without hearing this little bit of actor conventional wisdom.
This is bullshit.
Thus begin a chain of bullshit dominoes that eventually culminate in the complete character assassination of Mary Jane Watson. Like everything else in this film, she's as irrational as she needs to be to create easy drama because the screenwriters couldn't be bothered to come up with anything genuinely dramatic. She conceals her firing from Peter, for some reason, and then gets mad at him when the psychic powers he doesn't have fail to inform him of just how bad her day's going. We're meant to believe Spider-Man's fame is going to MJ's head and that she's jealous of her boyfriend's success as a masked vigilante crime fighter. Fuck all those pointless nitpicks about Hitler hair and Flashdance ripoffs. I jump ship right here, with this shot of MJ running off in a pointless huff, like a 13-year-old who just found out she's not her boyfriend's first kiss after all. Or any random character on Smallville, where many a subplot hinged on characters walking away from a conversation angry. MJ channels that anger by taking advantage of Amnesia Harry, because that's a sure way to make me like her. At least this scene reveals MJ's true superpower, the de-amnesia kiss. It's the opposite of that thing Superman pulled out of his ass at the end of Superman 2. Here as there, it's used once and never brought up again. Though presumably it would have cropped up had Raimi-directed Spider-Man 4. The quest for more money. So MJ's just as big a douche as Peter in her own special way. Who am I rooting for again?
Not a bad person.
Right, you're just drawn that way. In big, sloppy brushstrokes, complete with the sick daughter. What she got, McGregor syndrome? Why don't you just nip down to Arkham and beg a cure off Mr. Freeze? I hear he carries it around in his arm.
Where do all these guys come from?
The unprotected super science laboratory right outside town. Ask Dr. Connors about it sometime. I'm sure he's got a whole wing out there, all to himself and his lizards. And what is this sand experiment going to accomplish anyway? Why didn't the cops just call and say, hey, there's an escaped convict running loose on your property, you might want to bolt your doors and shut down any ongoing demolecularization experiments?
This is bullshit. This is malarkey. This is outrageous.
Okay, so Thomas Hayden Church is all like, hey old man, give me the classic. Shoots Uncle Ben, and he just walked away. And you're telling me nobody gave a description to the responding officers. Nobody talked to a nosy reporter from, I don't know, the Daily Bugle, and told him about the big Thomas Hayden Church-looking motherfucker who really pulled the trigger and then just faded away. How long did he continue his criminal career before getting popped for whatever? Why was the future Sandman in jail again? And how long's he been there?
It just raises too many questions.
This whole Shyamalanian twist is so stupid, I don't know who thought it was a good idea in the first place. I suspect it's so Peter can switch from oblivious douche to angry douche, and the black costume's powers can hold some kind of allure for him. Since that's not set up in the movie, we just have to assume it. It would hold plenty of allure for an active, well-rounded protagonist, but this is a Spider-Man movie we're talking about here. As soon as the costume gets on him, we see Spider-Man actively chase down a supervillain for the first time in 2.5 films. And once he sets his mind to it, guess what? It's pretty easy. All he had to do was follow the trail of sand crumbs. Where do those bags of money go when he discorporates? How much money does he need to help his sick daughter anyway? Why didn't that locket turn into sand like his clothes? And what's the money for? An operation? For what? Where? Why? What doctor takes handfuls of sequential 20s?
It just raises too many questions.
In the end, Sandman floats away and we never see him or his sick daughter again. In fact, we never see his sick daughter again after her first scene 12 minutes into the movie. We just see that goddamn magic locket. Spider-Man forgives him, so we're all supposed to forgive him too. After he's kidnapped Mary Jane and spent 20 minutes trying to kill Spider-Man. Because that'll make your daughter well.
Bullshit!
And this is our sympathetic villain, everyone. God knows there's nothing sympathetic about Harry, with his dead dad and his unrequited love. Nobody could possibly identify with that. Those who are too dumb to read can dismiss movie Venom as a one-note stock villain with the usual villain megalomania. Shit, he straight up asked God to smite his enemies. No easy sympathy, dead wife, sick daughter bullshit for this guy. It's almost refreshing, really. It's the film saying, yep, we've given up too. No refunds. And those of us who saw this story arc as a 3-part episode of the mid-90s adjectiveless Spider-Man cartoon series on Fox hung our heads in bitter disappointment. You have no idea what it is to have seen a story adapted to the screen before, and done better, by a cheap-ass, poorly written Fox Kids TV show that was so heavily censored Spider-Man couldn't even punch people. You should watch that story arc sometime. It's on YouTube, so you've got no excuse, and I refuse to be the only one marveling at how a $258 million film could possibly fuck up the same story so badly. And if you want to see the good version of this movie, track down the 4-episode arc from 2008's Spectacular Spider-Man series. The theme song sucks, and I'm not the biggest fan of its Scott Pilgrim vs. the World art direction, but that cartoon as a whole is pretty awesome, actually. So if these 3 films had to exist in order to give it form, well, nothing's perfect. This that we get here is bullshit. It's an incoherent, quivering, protoplasmic mass of a movie made by people who are obviously sick of their jobs. It's at least 2 movies Frankenstein together by a studio that set the release date before they'd written page 1 of their awful, awful script. 2007 was an awful year. Have you forgotten Ghost Rider, Bayformers, Diary of the Dead, Silver Surfer?
I haven't.
I swore to boycott the next Spider-Man movie on the day I walked out of this one. And I only own this because they were giving it away for free with the purchase of every PlayStation. Then, of course, Spider-Man 4 never happened. Instead, they were going to press the cosmic reset button. And we get to do this whole dance all over again from the beginning.
Bullshit! Bullshit!
Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. 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 Bull, 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 bull. Shit, 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 shit. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Bullshit.
Is that all I'm ever gonna get from you guys? Bullshit? Oh, ask a silly question.